have 2 instances of encryption issues or errors, and on another device we do not. So there we go. Let's see what else. So with the path calculator, you can save A to B path parameters in the path browser here. And what's neat is here we can see what the history is for any of these that are saved. So when did they succeed? When did they fail? And I can always just right click on one and say, calculate it right now. And then I could even say, draw the latest path that I just calculated right on the map. Or I can make a map out of it at any time. So using an A to B path calculation, which incidentally you can do it from a runbook, or you can do it just by clicking path up here and putting in your parameters, and then it'll run right on the map. And anything that the path goes across, is, as we saw, is automatically added to the dynamic map. So using this to start a map is actually a very common thing to do with the path calculator. So William wants to know, can a runbook be saved and used against other maps? So the runbook, no. But what you can do is you can take this runbook and you can turn it into what's called a runbook template. And then we can load this template in to this map or other maps as needed. So this is the way that we would, if we have the right way to do something, this is the way that we would just disseminate that. I think I did mention this briefly. So let's take.
Is there a way? Sorry, if there is a way to expand and collapse that, it kind of like faster. If not, you have to go like one blue folder by folder.
Oh, what specifically are we talking about?
On the right panel where you have all the templates. No, sorry, the left panel.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like collapse all, expand all?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I keep pestering them. No.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just hard to do that in HTML or what, but yeah, I mean, we'll talk at the end of class about how to do feature requests, but please,
okay.
I make so many suggestions, I don't think they listen to me anymore. So, I'm being facetious, but still. Anyway, yeah, your guys' words will carry a lot more weight than mine because, you're paying us. And also you're using the platform in real environments, which definitely carries more weight, at least with me. All right, so this is an example of, this has a decision branch where we can go and depending on different things. So there's a lot we can do with runbook templates. I think in either 202 or 203, usually 203, I go on a long ramble about best practices and building of runbook templates and so forth typically. So do come join me for that when you're ready among the actual building of the adaptive automation. But yeah, and it can include, if you're using a runbook template, up here would be the description on each step of whatever the author tended to include, but also it's, what's the default data source, what's the frequency, what are any other settings, including maybe notifying people. And these runbook templates can actually be, I think they can be, to some extent, executed by a trigger from a third-party system, actually. So, but there's a lot of different stuff that intertwines here. I'm trying to keep it straightforward in terms of what we would encounter as an end user. Let's see. Let me switch back to my runbook. So one other type of runbook step I do want to make mention of, well, there's a couple I want to mention. So retrieve live data, you can include CLI show commands in this, but the primary purpose is to select built-in data types and then run them against the selected devices. So this is great for, especially in a multi-vendor environment, if we just want, say, route ARP and Mac, we just select that, and it doesn't matter what operating systems they are, and NetBrain knows how to talk to each one and pull its individual thing. So it's just with one simple command, we get what we want from each type of device all in one batch. Often going along with that and with the execute CLI command is the compare type step, which is to do a delta check between two different data sets. This can include data sets within the runbook. It can also include data cache within the system as a whole. So basically what's changed, things like that. Now, there's also what's called a free text node. So this is a basically a big giant text box that is typically used to log stuff that is done as part of this process, but done outside of NetBrain. So for example, if we need to do a cable inspection on site, then I'll go in and log here. Who do I want to pick on? I'm going to pick on Jimena. So Jimena drew the short straw and must drive to remote site 5 to inspect cabling. But of course, Jimena's going to take their laptop with them, and so they're going to go ahead and record notes and thoughts in here. And then you can actually, in a free text node, you can not only do all sorts of standard text formatting, you can actually upload images. So they could take before and after snapshots and then post them right in here. So there's a permanent record. And then, of course, this can be shared into the incident. There's a permanent record of exactly what was found. So anytime you need to do something outside of NetBrain, you would do that with a free text node. So there's that. I should also mention the intent pane here, where I can see if there's any published intents, which is the short list of really commonly used important intents as identified by our team. If there's any that are relevant to this particular map, and I can see what were the results last time and what happens if I run this now.
Would you use something like an intent? So if you wanted to document either beforehand or during an incident, I suppose, your layer 1 information, like with your ISPs. So I need in order to open a ticket with an ISP, I need a phone number and a circuit ID. Would it behoove you to map that out beforehand and create like text fields and add that sort of information in, or is there a way you can?
You would not do that through a
that?
network intent. So a lot of stuff like that, if it's programmed into the device, say via SNMP, a lot of it will just be in the NetBrain database that you can access via device details, or there's the inventory report. There's a million different ways. To be very brief, you can create custom data fields in the NetBrain database and then populate them.
So you could have that information display on a map instead of having to write, like add a text box or something like that.
Yes, and that would be one use of a data view template, is if, for ISP relevant data, you could just say, okay, here's the device level data, here's, the phone number for the relevant ISP, here's the circuit ID, this sort of thing at the device level or the interface level, and then create a data view template that'll work on, whatever relevant devices in your environment. And then you just on demand say, pull that, and probably go it against cache because, and then it shows up right on the map. And you can, instead of having to dig through a list and correlate, you just see right on the map, either below a device or along a link line, exactly the data you need.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. And there's, there's so much stuff I could talk about with this. Again, I'm really trying to limit because we're already 15 minutes over what I wanted to do. We're still within the class time limit, but I do like to leave. I do like to finish within 90 minutes if possible. So that's pretty much what I've got for you guys. I'm skipping the demonstration of the NetBrain Smart CLI client for time purposes. That is covered in the workbook. Any questions about anything we've actively discussed during class before we finish up, do the housekeeping and attendance, and then move into open Q&A?
Can I ask a simple question?
Please.
Maybe simple. So in the global search up at the top where you have the IP address, if I search for a device by name, the search results, I noticed in our NetBrain doesn't show the device like I'm seeing in the NetBrain University class.
Okay, so what
How do
it's
I get
doing
that to display?
Okay, what it's doing is it is running a string search against the entire NetBrain database. So if your device's hostname isn't showing up, that to me says that the device hasn't been discovered, or much more likely, a full proper system benchmark hasn't been done. Or NetBrain thinks your device's hostname is different from what you think it is for whatever reason. I've never come across that, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, because I can find it if I look for it in, I think like under site on the left there. Like if I search for it under there, I can find it with the name, but it just doesn't display it in the global search results.
Yeah, so that's something I would, so aside from very obvious admin stuff that we'll go over in 401, like, you know, is the thing discovered? Is it, has it been fully benchmarked? Things like that. Aside from that, I am going to have to turn you over to either any NetBrain engineer you might be actively working with or